What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Trade Talk video ahead of round 24, the final round of the season, which also means it's the final trade talk of the season as well. So our AFL Fantasy content is starting to wrap up. We've only got a couple of videos left before the end of the season. Only 2 trades left. Obviously trying to go for some good matchups this week, and I can already see a few of the players that are highly traded in have got very good matchups this week. So we'll go through the most traded in and out players as we always do, and then our top 5 targets for the week will be after that, and then also followed by my trades for the final week of the season. So, but before we get into all of that, if you're enjoying the content around here, then make sure you smash a big thumbs up on the video. That would be very much appreciated. For the final one of the trade talk videos of the season as well, so make sure you smash a thumbs up to send us off in a good way as well. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We are less than 40 subscribers away now from 2.7k, so that's our goal to hit that by the end of the AFLW season. That'd be good. Yeah, but if we can hit it even sooner than that, then it'd be fantastic. So make sure you guys subscribe. Plenty of AFLW fantasy content to come as we get into the season starting next week, which is fantastic. So the fantasy kicks on still, even though the men's fantasy finishes. But let's get into the most trade in and out players of the week. So starting at number 1 is Nick Newman as the most trading player so far this week, who comes up against St Kilda. It's a great matchup. Obviously, we know St Kilda give up points to defenders. Nick Newman's been on a very, very good run of late. 119 he scored last week. And he's just, I think that's 4 tons in a row now as well. And I think 3 of them been over 115. Yeah, his last 3 scores all over 115. 4 tons in a row. Obviously plays huge game time as well, taking plenty of marks there. So for me, I think he's a really good option. He's getting at least 4 tackles as well, which is also helping with a bit of his ceiling there. So yeah, for me, I think Nick Newman, very good option this week. Could even be a sneaky captain option this week against St Kilda, which we know give up points to defenders. So for me, Nick Newman, very big fan of him this week. He's a good option. Dylan Moore, second most trading player. The only 2 players traded by over 2,000 coach this week. Dylan Moore, yeah, just a great option. I think, again, this week he's been really good. The past 2 weeks, back-to-back big tons. I think 119, 132 are his last 2 scores. North Melbourne down at Utah is a great matchup. I think he'll get involved. Had a lot of tackles last week as well. Had 7, which is good. I'm just waiting for the day that he does put the marks and tackles together and goes up 150, 160. So, yeah, he's obviously an absolute jet of a player, and he's obviously been in good form the last couple of weeks, and I think he'll end off with a good score as well. I like him this week. Now, first interesting option, and been the final week of the season, I can definitely get around it. It's Jeremy Cameron. He's got West Coast this week, and obviously we heard yesterday that Tom Barrass and Jeremy McGovern will both miss this week. So the fact that they're both going to be out could spell a big, big day for Jeremy Cameron. I'm a big fan of this move this week. This is a sort of move we look at this time of the year, right? We look at the key forwards. It could have a big day against one of the bottom 4 or 5 teams, and come up against West Coast with their 2 best defenders out. Jeremy Cameron could be in for a massive day. Obviously, he's got the ceiling. His highest score this year is a 122, which came all the way back in round 5. But then he got a 120 not that long ago against the Crows in round 21. So he's been okay the last month, like 100, 120, 76, 82, which is pretty solid. So his goal scoring form's been pretty good. He's had 4 shots, 7 shots, 3 shots, 3 shots. I think he goes big this week. So I'm a big fan of doing it, and I'll go through my trades, but he could be someone that I'll be considering this week. So Cameron, I really like this week. Could go and set his season high score. Brent Daniels, he's good. Very good player. 171 last week is massive. Certainly not many players have scored more than that this season. I don't know about this week. Obviously, it's a 1-week play, so I'm looking purely at the matchup. His form has been great, right? Like he's been pretty good. 68 the week before, which wasn't good, but 99, 116, 93, 59, which wasn't great, then a 129. So we know that he's got the ceiling, right? He can put the tackles and marks together. He's getting plenty of the ball. I just think Dogs at Mars isn't the matchup I'd want to be trading him into. We're not going to be getting the 170 that he got last week. So Dogs at Mars is not what I'd want to be bringing into someone into. Again, if you like him, I definitely wouldn't talk you out of bringing him in. I just don't like the matchup against the Bulldogs at Mars. But I couldn't talk anyone out of it. So I don't mind Daniels. I'm probably personally not going there myself this week. Noah Anderson, big fan of him this week. Richmond, the MCG, could go massive. I like him, Noah Anderson. 118 last week, and that was including a 9-point quarter as well in the third quarter. Copped a bit of a knock, but played out the game and looked fine. So I think Anderson, he's got obviously a massive ceiling. I think he could hit a big score this week. So I like Anderson. I think he could go quite well. And he's probably a guy that, if someone said to me, we had a question on our podcast last night, which if you haven't checked already, check it out, because Jordox was in Adelaide and we actually recorded our first podcast in person together. So first one that we've done on Fantasy Fanatics, or that I've done really in person. So it was good to do that. And we got a question saying, who do you think could score the most points to midfielder this week? And I said Noah Anderson, just because the Richmond matchup, good matchup, and I think he'd go big. So I like Noah Anderson this week, and if you don't have him, I think he's a good option. Ryan Marshall, if you don't have him, obviously if you get him in, it's fantastic. Great matchup this week against Carlton with Pitney. I think Marshall will be able to work him around the ground, and he's got a good record against Carlton as well. Played him a fair few times, an average of nearly 113 there. So yeah, I think Marshall is a great target. His last is it 4 weeks in a 4 weeks in a row, over 130, and 5 of his last 6 have been over 130 as well, so which is fantastic. He's obviously got a massive ceiling. He's not even doing it with hitouts either. Like, he's only had one game over 30 hitouts in the last 5 weeks. He's getting it done based on his marks, his tackles, and then goals. He hasn't had the game yet, I don't think. The closest one obviously was the 171, where he did it. Obviously had 11 tackles in another game, but he hasn't had that game where he's gone like 9 marks and like 8 or 9 tackles. I wonder if that could be this week, and maybe even kicks a goal or two. He's kicked a goal in his last 4 games, which is great as well. But I wonder if it could be this week against Carlton. Could be a sort of a tightly contested game, a lot of stoppages. And also, if he goes over 130, he'll crack the $1.1 million mark, which would be pretty fitting for him and Cherry to finish the year over 1.1 million, just because of how good they've been. So Marshall, for me, I think he'll continue on his merry way and have another good score. So if you don't have him, I like him. Jack Steele, been in great form, obviously highlighted by a season high 138 last week. I think he's a great option. I know Carlton isn't a great matchup per se. I just like Jack Steele. I think he's in really good form, and I think he'll go well again. So I like him if you're looking at targeting a midfielder. Matt Kennedy could be a solid target as well. Only had 1 CBA, so obviously the role wasn't exactly there. But if they get like a Harry Mackay back this week, I don't know if a Charlie Curnow will be fit for this week. I'm not sure. I'm actually literally just getting the injury list up as we speak. But whether or not one's back or both are back, that could free maybe Kenny up to go a little bit more in the mids, because they're not as reliant on him playing a little bit more forward of the ball. So it'll actually be interesting to see who from Carlton comes back this week. Curnow's listed as a test, and Mackay's listed as 1 week. So actually Mackay will miss this week, sorry. So Curnow could be back. It'd be interesting if Mackay's back. Could be a bit more confident in Kennedy, and he's been really good, so you could always grab him anyway. It's just if he's not playing midfield, obviously we have seen him score a little bit lower if he doesn't have the role, so bit of a sort of could go really well, might fail as well. So I don't mind. I probably prefer Jeremy Cameron if I'm looking between the two. Zach Fisher is next. I'd prefer probably Fisher over Kennedy. And for some of us, it could be the 3rd time we're bringing him in this year. He's got the Hawks. I think the Hawks will have plenty of shots on goal. Obviously, 100 last week was great. It's funny because obviously we traded him out, right? And we brought him back in, trade him out, and we might be bringing him back in for a 3rd time this year. So not huge game time last week, which is surprising. But 31 touches, 4 marks, which 4 marks is obviously a little bit low, but I don't think North are really much of a chipping around the back sort of team. They, like, even McKercher's had low marks this year, which I've noticed. So obviously that's a trend. But he's been solid when he's had the role this year. Obviously it's just been a few hiccups along the way. But I like him as a 1 week play against Hawthorn. So it'd be interesting, like Fisher or Cameron. That's probably a lot of what a lot of coaches are thinking of this week. I'm probably leaning towards Cameron just with the huge ceiling that could potentially be on offer. But Fisher is also a good option as well, so I don't mind him. And then rounding out top 10 most trading players is Zach Butters. Again, he was great last week, 143. I think he's a good option to be looking at this week. Freo over at Optus, big game. Port need to win, obviously, to stay in the top 4. I still think that they can fall out. I think if Brisbane and a couple of these other teams win, Actually, I'm just going to actually have a quick look at that because I'm actually quite interested to see that. So, but yeah, Butters, good option. I like him and is a good target. So, yeah, there you go. So if Brisbane win, actually, no, I reckon Port have locked a top 4 spot, actually. Because even if Giants and Geelong win, they go above Port, Geelong would have to get a lot of percentage. So, no, Port have actually locked in a top 4 spot. I didn't actually realise that. So, yeah, regardless, Port will still want to win because they want a home final. They want to stay ahead of Giants and Geelong to make sure they get that home final. So, Butters, I think still regardless is a good option. A few other players here. Binns, obviously, is a downgrade option for you. Could potentially be a solid option. What did he score last week? Wasn't it like 60? Sorry, long day. 71. Not bad and very good for a rookie. So I think he's a good option to be bringing in 213k. Part of me is like, I don't want him scoring that much well because could have been an option for us to start with next year if he was in the team. But I think he'll be a little bit pricier next year. But Binns, good option as a downgrade, 213k. Nick Dacos against Melbourne, I think he'll go all right. I don't know if a tag will go to him per se just because the season's over for both teams. Obviously, Colin could still make it, but they need, it's not going to happen. They need, it's just not going to happen. But Dacos, solid option. The ceiling obviously hasn't been there as much this year, but I still think he put up a pretty solid score. So I like Dacos this week. Sinclair I like this week. Could cop some attention, but I think Sinclair will do what he wants at the end of the day. Oh, wow. Archie Roberts was obviously really good last week. I don't know if I'd be bringing him in now. What's he priced at? It'd be over 300k, surely. Yeah, nearly 400k. I wouldn't be looking at him now. I know he's been solid, but yeah, I think there's no point really. Unless you're going him down and then you can get the upgrade you want on the other trade and has him at the D7 loop. That could be an option. That's something that you could consider. So something to look at. But yeah, I think if it's the Humphreys down to him, I'd just prefer Humphreys if you've got cash elsewhere and you can do that downgrade. Dawson, yeah, solid option. Obviously, Sydney at the SCG is tough. I don't know if he'll get tagged, though. Just final game of the season. So, could be all right. He's been really good last 3 weeks, especially last two, 126, 132. With the 132 being against Port Adelaide, which has been a tough team to score against. So, the only disappointing thing is I was thinking he could be a bit of an underpriced option next year, priced under 105, but now he's obviously averaging over that, and he probably will continue to average over that, so maybe might not be as much value next year. But regardless, I think Dawson could be a solid option. And part of me wants to bring him in and off with Dawson in my team, but who knows. Gawn, I just wouldn't worry about it. I think Cherry and Marshall are the guys you want, so I wouldn't look at it. And then you've got Nick Martin, Lockie Whitfield. I think obviously both are good options to bring in. Martin obviously tougher matchup against Brisbane at the Gabba this week, but I still think it's pretty solid. Most trade out players of the week. So pretty much I think all these guys can go. I don't think there's anyone here that could stay. Like Young's been poor, he can go. Peatling, we saw his scores have obviously been really poor since Keneally's been back in the team, so I would trade him. Grundy can go. Obviously you want Marshall and Cherry, but even still, there's a chance Grundy even gets rested this week, I think, with Sydney approaching finals. So, yep, he can definitely go. Sheets, I think, I'm pretty sure I saw yesterday, has been rolled out this week, so he can definitely go as well, which is unfortunate. Humphreys, I guess, depends if you can do your trades on field and he could even be a D7 loop, then that could be an option. But at the end of the day, him down, if that gets you the upgrade you want on field, I think he can go as well. Or if you're upgrading him and you're getting a 23rd premium, that's obviously an option that you can do as well. Simpkin can go. He's just been so frustrating. Like, I thought he was going to be a good option to end the year. I'm sort of thankful I couldn't get him in a way. So, like 74 last week, 60, what was it, 60 other week? No, 76 week before, 80, 92, 61, 88. Like, just sort of middling scores, which isn't great. I thought after 106 against Gold Coast, he was going to be a good option, but hasn't gone over 95 since then. 91 score over 90. So, yeah, not great. And he can go, especially to Jeremy Cameron, Zach Fisher, even a Brent Daniels or a Matt Kenny if you're keen on one of those two instead. I think all those guys, even a Dylan Moore if you don't have him, but I think a lot of people have got him now. So, yep, Simpkin can go. John Clark can go. Tough matchup against Port. And obviously we know he's got the ceiling, but doesn't hit it very frequently at all. I think he got a 60 odd or 65 last week. So yeah, he can go. Evans can go. Obviously, he's a rookie at the end of the day. Dan Houston, obviously, suspended for the rest of the year after that hit on Rankin, so he's got to go as well. Mana's probably one I probably would keep, to be fair. I think if there's ever going to be a game he's going to hit another ton again, I think it could be this week against the West Coast at GMHBA. Like an 83 last week, and even before that, like 62, 72, 63, 84, 71, 15. Hasn't gone below 60. And at the end of the day, he's probably on your bench. Do you really have any better options on your, like, that you could, like, I think you could probably do other trades around him. Again, if him down gets the upgrade on field you want, then fine. But I think he's a perfect F7 loop. I think he's a really good option. And I'd be definitely considering holding him. Not trading him in, but holding him I think is a play. Zach Taylor can go. Merritt, interesting. Brisbane, probably depends if Berry is named. I think Berry was listed as a test. Yeah, so a test. Whether they risk him is another question. Obviously, they've got final series. They probably don't want to play him, and then he does something more in the game. So I don't think he'll play, just because I can't see Brisbane risking him. Obviously, Brisbane are they're inside. Well, they're just outside the top four. They really need Geelong to lose to West Coast, and I feel like because Geelong play first and Brisbane play Saturday night, I think if top four is out of the question, I can't see them risking Berry. And yes, I know that they can actually, well, they're not going to slip out of the 8. They'd have to drop. They'd have to lose by like 80 points and then Freo win by like 80 points, which won't happen. But I just can't see them risking him. So I think for me, I think Merritt will be fine. I'd be keeping Merritt. Obviously, Rankin, unfortunately, has got to go after being concussed, and he won't play. Showmaker, rookie at the end, they can go as well. So, a lot of these players, really, besides Manor, and even a Humphreys maybe, and then Merritt, I think I'm pretty on board with everyone else going there as well. So in terms of top 5 targets for the week, I think I've got Nick Newman at number 1. St Kilda, the St Kilda matchup's just too good to ignore. I think you need him this week, and he'd be my number 1. At number 2, I've got Dylan Moore. I think the North Melbourne matchup, and I've got these two just probably based on safety. I just think they're really good players. Obviously, got big ceilings, good matchups. Obviously, top sort of few in their line, especially over the last month. I like both, so Moore I've got at number 2. I've got Noah Anderson at number 3 against Richmond. I think if you're looking for a midfield trade, I think he's the guy that I'd be looking at. We know he's got a ceiling. Richmond, the MCG is a great matchup. So I think for me, he is a really good target. I've got Jeremy Cameron at number 4. I don't have him higher just because, obviously, right, he can go big or he can go, obviously, not as good. I think he's going big this week, which is why I've still got him in the top 5 options. I just think the other 3 are probably safer to go over a ton. But I think with no McGovern and no Barras, I think Cameron's going to have a big game this week. So I've got him at number 4 there. And coming in at number 5, a couple players could easily be in this spot, right? But I think I'll be just going Jack Steele, just because of how good he's been. The 148 last week was a great score. I think he can do it again with another big one this week. So I've got Steele there. But obviously, Fisher, I don't mind this week as well. If it wasn't for Jeremy Cameron, he probably would be in the top 5. I like Butters as well this week. Dacos as well. It's good. And I'm assuming just most people got Rowan Marsh already at this point. But if you don't have him, or Tristan Cherry, they'd be the guys I'd be looking at. So, but there we go. Obviously, there's a trade talk for the final round of the season, obviously with a few yawns as well, because it's a little bit later at night as I'm recording. But we always get a yawn or two in the trade talks. I know I'm recording this late on a Tuesday. But make sure you leave in the comments what you guys doing with your trades in round 24, and I'll get to all your questions this week. Obviously, didn't get to as many last week as I would have liked. This week, I'll get to all of them, being the final week of the season. Help all you guys out with your grand finals in your league matchup. So if you're pushing for top 100, top 10, top 1,000, top 5K, whatever goal you've got, put through your questions. I'll get to all those this week. And if you've got a question on Q as well, and you'd like to ask it through there and help support that channel at the same time, then head over to Ask Me on Q, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. If you don't want your opponent, if maybe, you never know, they might listen to the Trade Talk videos as well. If you don't want them listening to your questions, you want to ask them discreetly and I can give you an in-depth audio response as to what I would do with your question. If you want to send through your whole team, if it's your trades, whatever question you want, even if it's draft as well. Draft, obviously, all those are coming to a close well this week. Obviously, all the Shiver Leagues as well. So if you've got any questions for draft-related stuff, send it through there on Q. Links at the top of the description so you can't miss it. And yeah, appreciate everyone that sent through those this season as well. And also, if you've got any AFLW fantasy questions, well, you can send them through on Q as well. Then you can send through your whole team. I can sort of give it a bit of a review and let you know what my thoughts are on it. So, but yeah, thanks guys. It's been another great year, obviously on the trade talks as well, one of the more popular videos on the channel. So appreciate everyone's continued support on watching all of them. And if you want to show an extra bit of support to end the season off, make sure you smash a like on the video as well. Be good to end off with 100 likes on the video. So make sure you get that done. And if we can hit that goal, that'd be fantastic. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We obviously got plenty of AFLW fantasy content to come as well. And we'll be doing watch-alongs for all the AFL finals games as well. So make sure you guys tune in to those, and yeah, turn notifications on as well so you don't miss when we go live or upload or the content's uploaded. So and also me and Jaden did our AFLW fantasy team reveals yesterday, so if you'd like to see who's in my AFLW fantasy team and in Jaden's team, then make sure you check the video out from yesterday as well. It also could be a good video to refer to if you're making your team now and see maybe a few players we've locked into our sides and maybe use that as a bit of a guide to maybe your team selection. So but yeah, anyway, thanks guys for tuning in as always, and we'll be back tomorrow for the captain's video, the final one of the season, and then obviously our pre-lockout chat on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time. Yeah, looking forward to the final week of the season. So thanks guys for tuning in as always, and I'll catch you guys in the captain's video tomorrow. So I'm out. Cheers.